Second signing day here. We were at 83 going into the second signing day. Got the announcement from Enoch Viamahe, which is a huge addition. One of the focuses going into the second signing day. Commitment in the offensive line, really big to get him down the stretch. And then we'll be waiting on one more here later today to make it 85. With that, I'd like to answer any questions you guys have.
Open it up front row middle, Dave.
Before I ask about recruiting, Ryan, we just met an impressive group of assistant coaches. Constructing your coaching staff, would you say it went about as well as you could have expected?
Yeah, and there were times where you're recruiting the coaches even more than you're recruiting the players. And that was a big part of this. And so it's been a sprint to this point. Really haven't stopped. It's been a lot on the recruiting trail, but putting the staff together was a big part. Really excited about what we put together as a whole staff. Had a workout today early in the morning, 6 a.m. A lot of excitement. Guys were running around, and the coaches were a part of it too. So I really think the time spent was it wasn't easy putting it together. It really wasn't. There was a lot of time and thought put into this thing, and so really excited about it.
On the recruiting trail, what's been the biggest challenge? I know you guys have finished strong with 2019. You're off to a good start with your next two classes. Yeah. What's been maybe the biggest challenge for you guys so far?
I think the biggest challenge was early on was getting to know everybody, and then when the staff got put into place, we still wanted those guys to make sure they built relationships with the 2019s, and again, the loyalty there was off the charts, and the families that we've made connections with and that we've recruited has been awesome, and then getting going with the 2020s. But when you look at what we've done here as a culture since August, this is the thing that I keep bringing up. Since August, with the coaching change, we've only had two guys leave the program, Keandre Jones and Tate Martell, and really one was a grad transfer, one was a quarterback. And so when you keep the retention like that, first off, it shows about the culture in a coaching change, but then also, it isn't about signing 27 guys because you're retaining guys. Guys want to stay in the program, and that's the strength of our team right now.
Ryan, you've had obviously brought in Justin Fields from the transfer portal. There's been some reports that you guys might be looking at other guys on the transfer market as well. Just kind of what's your approach in terms of when you decide this program should pursue somebody that's in the transfer portal?
It's ever evolving. To say I know where it's going to be in 2 to 5 years, I don't know that. But I know that we have to evolve with the times. And to be competitive, we need to be involved with that. So Mark Pantoni's had to make adjustments. He's had to really stay on top of that transfer portal and then evaluate who goes into that portal. And, it might be one of those things down the road where we have to have assign and designate a part of our recruiting department just towards that. And so we have to make sure we're adapting with that. We're very, very careful about that. It has to be a need. It has to be a fit. Because we spent a lot of time recruiting these kids ever since they've been freshmen, sophomores, most of them. And so we bring them into a culture that we really take seriously. And so to bring somebody in has to be a great fit. Justin is a great fit for a lot of reasons, and so we're excited about him.
When Urban Meyer was the coach here, Ohio State really didn't bring in a whole lot of transfers to this program. Do you see that being something that could ramp up here, or is it still kind of just a last resort if you don't get the guys you need in recruiting high school players?
Yeah, we want to recruit guys when they're freshmen, sophomores, guys who want to be Buckeyes and build relationships over time. We don't want to rely on that. However, since there's been such a change with this transfer portal, with grad transfers coming available, we have to be able to adapt, and we have to look at those things in order to be competitive, because at the end of the day, what matters is winning championships.
Third row right, Rob.
Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch. Hey, I don't know if it's a difference in philosophy or a different way of doing things, but Justin Fields is featured. He's like the first guy in this video that you've put out. You must be very confident that he'll be eligible, A, and B. Did you hesitate at all, or is this just, we've got this guy, we're going to feature him?
It started off when Dwayne made his announcement. That was hard on us. This is a guy that you expected to get three years out of, and developed him for 2 years. Got 14 games. That was hard. I mean, that took a little time to get yourself off the canvas on that one, because we thought we were going to get 3 years. We got 1. And so then you look at it, and for the program, you have to make sure that you have depth there. You got to make sure that you have at least 3 or 4 guys that are able to go play. And so we were in a tough spot. But when he became available, we investigated it, felt like it was a great fit. And so he's done a nice job so far. Not trying to do too much early, trying to gain some respect of the guys around him. And then he's going to get into a competition this spring and see how it goes. Matthews, coming off of his knee injury, did a good job last year, but now this is going to be his opportunity to go after it too. So, Matt and along with Chris Chugnoff will also be the three guys in there. And so quarterbacks right now in college football is very sensitive. And so you just have to adapt to it year in and year out.
No hesitation in promoting them, though, I guess is part of that, too. Is that just, do you have a final say on those videos and those type of things? And
Yeah, I mean, everything goes through me. And sometimes it just by chance. But obviously we're excited about having Justin.
Second row left, Ari.
I've got a quick three here, Tim. Justin Fields didn't really go into so much about like who approached who first or how he got here, but he did say that the number one selling point, even before you guys spoke, was the fact that he could get to the NFL and get there quickly. I know when Urban Meyer first started here, he talked about how he hoped players would go after 3 years because it means things are going well. Where do you stand on just the mindset of, hey, Ohio State's going to get me to the league the fastest and not being shy about saying it? And what was that like during the recruitment process when you're trying to get him here?
I mean, that's part of it. We don't apologize for developing guys, and to see Dwayne's development the last 2 years is pretty remarkable. So I think that's one of the selling points that we have. That's just one part of it, though. And being able to compete for a national championship, being involved with a culture like we have here, getting around our guys and feeling who we are as a team was also important. And so that's just one part of it. But for a quarterback, that is important for them. They want to be in an offense where they're throwing at the high efficiency that we did last year. We're throwing in in an offense where it's very pro style oriented, mixed in with the college run game with RPOs, and we think we're on the cutting edge that way. So it's exciting. But that's the response we're getting from a lot of quarterbacks around the country as well. And that, mixed in with the other guys that are surrounding them, it's obviously very enticing.
Two, we've seen freshman receivers, both here and across the country, coming in and really changing teams from the beginning, just from a physical standpoint, being ready to go immediately. I know Garrett Wilson is somebody that you recruited intimately a long time, probably the highest rated receiver you guys have brought here in over 10 years. Just wondering, can you put in perspective just how good he is, and he is somebody that can come in and change a program immediately?
The thing, first off, about Garrett is he comes from a great family, and he's a great person. When you get around him, he's magnetic. The second thing is he's amazing because he's a big-time basketball player, and he's never really spent time on just football. So his potential, as good as he is through the roof. Now he's got to go do it. So this is really the first time he's being challenged in the weight room. Coach Mick and his staff is, kind of all over him. He's already gotten better and made strides, but he's got a long way to go physically. That being said, his skill set is off the charts. His ball skills, the way he can adjust the balls down the field, his route running ability, his length is as good as I've been around. So how he does the next few weeks in the offseason program will be important, and then he'll have an opportunity to compete in the spring.
One last one. Just with phone calls, just doing updates, stuff with recruits, especially nationally, a lot of them say, well, Urban Meyer's still going to be around, or Urban Meyer is a sales point, where you guys say, he's not the coach, but he's going to be around and he's going to have influence. And how do you plan on actually using Urban Meyer now? How does that work? What is he actually going to be doing in your mind? And how do you maintain Urban Meyer being a sales pitch when you're the new guy and, there's a balance there between, great old coach and new guy?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, he's built this over the last 7 years, and the culture that he's built is amazing, and we've kept so much in place, and that's been part of this thing, and the philosophies that he has and I have are in line. So that's his footprint is on this, and will be for a long time. The second thing is, he's got his office across the way, and coming off the road, we've been on the road recruiting and everything that way, but he's still going to be very much involved with Real Life Wednesday programs, our academics, and most importantly, be a great resource for me moving forward.
Front row right, Austin.
Ryan, when you got promoted, you then had to replace yourself on the staff. What made Mike an appealing guy to you? Do you want him to think all the same things as you? Did you want new ideas? Why was he a good fit?
He was firstly a good fit because he and his wife are from Ohio, and they wanted to come back. They wanted to make sure that we had Ohio guys on the staff who wanted to be here. The fact that he came from Oklahoma State and done really well as a coordinator, calling plays for the last 6 years and wanting to be here, that was the second thing that was the most attractive. He wanted to get involved with this offense. He wanted to be part of the way we're throwing the football. but he brings so much to the table. He's called plays. He's been part of and run one of the more, proficient offenses in college football the last 6 years. So I thought that was a home run on both ends.
Talked about kind of learning the offense at the same time as Justin Fields. What are you working with? Are you coaching both of those guys? How does that work?
It's a little bit of both. We watch film, and now that we're off the road, we're going to get into that a lot more. But even in the last couple of days, we've been watching film as a staff. We did have a meeting all together, quarterbacks and Coach Yursich in there as well. And so he picks it up really quick. It's not going to take long for him to kind of understand where we're at. And the great thing about Mike is he's willing to teach it the way we teach it. He doesn't come in trying to say, well, this is how we did it. Has great ideas. He's been around football a long time, has really good timing, and understands how it works to be part of a staff.
And a couple of these guys have asked about, Justin Fields and all that. Is it uncomfortable to have to wait for this waiver? Does it change the plans at all that you don't know for sure as you go into spring ball at this point, if you're going to have him?
Well, I think there's nothing we can do about it right now. We're just trying to control what we can control. And wait till the waiver comes back to find out where that's at. But that doesn't change anything for him, doesn't change anything for Matthew or Chris. And so once we find out what it is, then we'll kind of go from there.
Second row left, Bill.
Ryan, Enoch has been on the record saying he wants to play a year and then go on a mission for 2 years. Just wondering how that played a part in your conversations and really your desire to want to pursue a guy who it seems like might be sort of on like a 3 or 4 year deferred plan before he can contribute to your team.
Yeah, we O-line was an area of concern for us, and we had to go out there and kind of uncover all the stones. And so flying out to Hawaii, staying for 3 hours, and getting on a red eye back to Columbus was part of that plan. But it started honestly in the All-American game when he got around some of our guys, including Garrett Wilson, Harry Miller, Zach Harrison, and the feedback we got about him was through the roof. He and his family. And that proved to be true. They thought he'd be a great fit here. We wouldn't just go out to Hawaii if it wasn't a good fit. It was. And then he came out for a visit, and we all hit it off. And so that was great. And then we were able to spend some time out at his school with he and his parents, and we all hit it off. There was some connections with some of the guys on our team, too, that knew each other. So that was really good. But in the communication about the mission, it's something that he and his family, will decide kind of at the end of this year and go from there. If they decide that they want to go for a 2-year mission, then we'll support that. He'd go away for 2 years and then come back.
And your past quarterbacks, I think both Tate and Dwayne said that your offense, it takes a year to really feel comfortable. And I don't know how different that is from other offenses. But do you agree with that assessment that it does take time to get comfortable? And with that, how long do you think it would take Justin to get comfortable in this offense, assuming he's going to be your starter next year?
I think that there's a lot of things that you save in the first year. I think it's all about what you put on a quarterback's plate. I think they can handle so much in the first year, and then as you get into year 2 and 3, they start to be able to take more on as it goes. And I think that's part of being a coach is understanding that. You look at what Lawrence did at Clemson this year. Early on, they were really careful with him and didn't expose him to a bunch. And I think that's part of having a young quarterback.
One other thing I wanted to ask you, and I know you can't talk specifically about this, but you have a handful of offers out to sophomores in this state. I think more than Ohio State typically has to in-state sophomores. Is that, in your mind, more a reflection of just the talent in that class, or are you guys making a concerted effort to get involved and offer Ohio prospects earlier?
Both. When I was here for the first signing day, I think the question was asked about Ohio offensive linemen, and I said that was going to be an emphasis, and it is. So we're all over that. That's from when we wake up in the morning to when we go to bed at night. And so that's not going to change. But it's also, there is great players in the state of Ohio. And so we're out there being aggressive and going after them.
Have you gotten feedback from Ohio high school coaches about the timeline with which you guys recruit players in the state, and did that need to change at all in your mind?
I think the conversation was just how much they appreciated our staff being out and getting to know all the guys in the area.
Second row right, Bill. Bender.
Bill Bender, Sporting News. I know last time we were here, you were talking about how Dwayne didn't necessarily want to wait for his turn, but he did, and it worked out and being developed here. So, with this transfer portal, everything that goes with that, how do you as coaches combat that urge to maybe push a quarterback's timetable up when they aren't ready versus, letting it happen with Dwayne? Is that the biggest challenge now?
That is a big challenge, yeah. Again, I go back to kind of the way that Clemson did this year. They played a true freshman and just put him in there, and they were going to live with it, and it worked out for them. I think sometimes it's hard for those guys to wait. First off, it's hard to recruit a highly recruited guy and then recruit guys behind them. And then if they leave after their third year in the program, then it gets really hard. So, but that's the constant struggle of right now of college football and the quarterback situation. It's very sensitive, but to your point, that is a challenge.
Well, for a place like this too, that's had, I think, three-way quarterback battles, I mean, as long as that, like the last 3 or 4 years, most of those years, besides JT, how do you see yourself and this coaching staff adjusting in the recruiting area with these 5-star kids that want to play right away?
I think honesty is the best way to go. I think that it has changed in the last year. It's changed in the last 2 to 3 years, and it's changed in the last 5 years to the last decade. I mean, it's changing, and I think that 5 years ago when you could have guys stay in your program at quarterback, I think that's changed. Guys want to play right now, and the best way to combat that is to be honest in the recruiting process. To tell someone they're going to come in and play right away is not right. I think you have to be honest with them, tell them it's going to be a competition, and then there's no expectation problems when they get here.
Front row left, Doug.
Ryan, the passing game that you guys showed last year with Dwayne and those veteran receivers, Garrett Wilson was saying today that you talked with him at the very beginning of recruiting about what you thought this Ohio State passing game could be like even before last year, what you guys did with JT the year before. My question about that is this is this what this offense is going to be like? Dwayne's gone, veteran receivers are gone, but you would hope, plan, anticipate like the offense to pretty much look like what the offense looked like last year?
Yeah, that's a great question because the offense that we ran with JT and the offense that we ran with Dwayne is still the same offense. And what I mean by that is the plays are still the plays. The playbook is the play. Now, what plays do we emphasize is based on the quarterback and always has been. The other part of it is, who's the best 11? Does it mean there's an extra tight end in this game? Does it mean there's an extra running back in the game? How does that fit? And so every year we'll put the best guys up on the board and figure out who those guys are. And then how does that match with what the quarterback can do? What makes him special? Clearly what made Dwayne special last year was his ability to throw in the pocket, especially downfield, and his accuracy. That made him special. What made JT special was his combination of being able to throw, run. He could, do a great job in short yardage situations. He was durable, great decision maker, took care of the ball, and excellent in the red zone. So as we move forward with our new quarterback, we figure out what he does best, and then we'll emphasize those. But there's certain things that will stay consistent. Obviously, we believe we have to be able to throw the ball to go win. That's, whether it's a 2-minute drill in the Penn State game 2 years ago with JT, or the 2-minute drill that we did with Dwayne towards the towards the end of the season. And that's part of it. If you want to go win the whole thing, you have to be able to throw the ball. And that showed in the last 2 semifinals and then the finals in the last couple years. To win the whole, the national championship, you have to be able to throw it. Again, all that being said, you can't get anywhere at Ohio State if you're not running the football. I mean, that will always be a priority here. So finding the right balance is critical.
You've kind of talked about this, but you guys said multiple times last year that Dwayne, what he did last year, he wouldn't have been quite ready to do that as a redshirt freshman, that he needed those 2 years to really get ready for that. You're going to have a guy who's only in his second year in college starting a quarterback for you this year, no matter who it is. Is there some curiosity, maybe any apprehension from you? I know you just said Clemson did it, teams have done it, but you guys were pretty strong last year. Like, no, Dwayne wouldn't have been ready. So are you a little worried?
Yes. It doesn't just happen. And what happened last year with Dwayne Haskins is an anomaly. I mean, someone just to step in 14 games and he's projected to be maybe the first quarterback taken in the draft and third in the Heisman. That just doesn't happen. And so someone doesn't just step in and do that. And so, no, I mean, the expectations are obviously that we're going to be really good and repeat what we did. But that's not just going to happen. It's going to take a lot of hard work. And it's going to take a lot of adjusting on the move. And guys are going to have to do a great job stepping up in all different areas. But no, it's one of those things. I mean, for me to sit back and look at what happened last year, it is really amazing. And I think, Dwayne may be one of those once in a lifetime. I think someone said he's one of 6 quarterbacks in history of college football to throw 50 touchdown passes. And it's just amazing. So it's a new journey. Just like when we were sat here probably at this time last year and JT's gone, so what's next? There was apprehension then, but you just got to go, and that's the beauty of college football.
And a different subject quickly. I know coaching is a business. Guys move around. That's the nature of the beast. But everyone talks about the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry 365 days a year. Greg Madison was at Michigan for 13 years on 2 separate occasions. That's a lot of Michigan guy in him, and now he's just at Ohio State, isn't? I know, Larry Johnson was at Penn State, I get it. It feels to me like Ohio State-Michigan is just different, isn't? The idea of bringing him here, did that cross your mind at all? And tell me I'm completely off base, or is it different with Ohio State-Michigan that this is a little strange maybe?
So when this all started, I vetted and looked just about all the way across the country and back, looking to find what the right mix for what we have. First off, coming back on defense, I looked at the guys that we had and wanted to find what we needed. And the first thing I decided was I felt like we needed a couple of veteran guys there, guys who have been through the fire before. They know the league, they know the conference, they know college football. And then I wanted to have 3 other guys who were younger, some younger guys to complement those guys. And so then you go about and looking to see who the candidates are, and looked at a lot of different people. When I had an opportunity to get Jeff Haffley, that was a no-brainer to me. Really talented, 6 or 7 NFL teams are after him to be a coordinator. He wanted to come back, kind of the same way I did. I wanted to come back into college for all the same reasons that he shared with me, and his family wanted to come back. So finding the right counterpart to Jeff was really critical. And so when you look at that, we're looking for a veteran guy who's been and knows the league, somebody I know, because it's very hard to bring somebody you don't know into that spot. I worked with Greg. I know Greg. I've stayed in touch with Greg. And so him and Jeff getting together, and that was something they had to get together before we even made the decision to do it. They had to get along and understand that this is going to be a partnership. It worked right from the beginning, and I think it's a home run.
Michigan thing is no consideration?
It was in consideration, yeah.
What made you okay with it?
Well, again, knowing him, whether I was coaching here or anywhere else, I would have tried to hire Greg Madison. And all it comes down was who are the best coaches for our players. And whatever that was, and that's what makes Gene Smith so good, he's like, just go get them. Whatever you need, you go get those guys. And that was the determination that we made, and so they just went ahead and did it.
Over here to the far right, Clay.
A little bit on that. Do you see that the staff is meshing? I mean, you got young pups and you got these elder statesmen. Is it working so far?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's still early, but when you talk to recruits, that's always a good barometer. And you talk to the players, that kind of gives you a flavor of what's going on. We had a junior day here, and the feedback we got was unbelievable about all in, family. Those are all the things that they were saying to us. And then to see the energy that we had at the mat drills this morning at 6 a.m., we had a meeting in here right before that was unbelievable. The energy at 5:55 that Coach Marotti had with these players was tremendous. And then even after the mat drill, the energy they had in the locker room, there's life there. I think there's excitement there. But it's a work in progress. I mean, you got to build those relationships. And our guys have to love the coaches. That's the thing that we talk about in a meeting all the time. If the players love the coach, they'll do anything for them. And so for the new guys, they're still building those relationships.
Ryan, do you think you added a new layer to the rivalry now?
Like I said, I got a lot of respect for the rivalry. And so that had nothing to do with anything other than trying to find the best guys. I mean, Al Washington's dad played here. He's from here. I was a coach when he played. He coached with me. So these are guys that I've known. And it wasn't like I was going to try to cherry pick off of somebody's staff. But I felt like those are the best guys for us.
Third row right, Kyle.
The NCAA waiver process is kind of a new phenomenon now in college football. Just what's it been like going through that? And you're essentially kind of at the mercy of whatever decision they make. You don't have much control. I mean, does it make you anxious kind of this whole past month going through it?
Sure, it does. Justin Coomey, who handles our compliance, is as good as there is in a business. I mean, the way he handles his business and how on top of things he does a great job. And so the communication between he and I have been on a daily basis to try to work through some of these issues. But those are the guidelines that we have, and we have to work through those and be on top of them and work them. And so yeah, but it's not a process that you feel great about and sleep well at night, knowing that you're involved with those processes. But it's kind of one of those things you got to deal with.
And then you kind of answered this a minute ago, but putting together your staffs, what kind of traits or characteristics were you looking in the people that you brought in?
Wanted guys who wanted to be here, Ohio ties, Big Ten ties, and then again, guys that we thought were going to make our players better. So the two things that we talk about all the time is, as an assistant coach, if your players love you, they'll do anything for you. But you got to build that relationship, guys that are relationship oriented. And then two, how do you make them better? Because if these guys think they're getting better every day and they feel themselves getting better, that's when they'll go through the roof for you. So guys who are competent and do a really great job at coaching, and then also that are relationship oriented.
Front row right, Tim.
Yeah, following up on that, Ryan, three of the guys you hired for your defensive staff, you guys combined over 2 weeks to score 114 points on their teams. What do those guys specifically bring to the program that you want to see, including Haffley? What is it specifically about all four of those guys?
Yep. So start with Jeff. I think when I worked with Jeff, I saw a coach who was really good at what he did, understanding first off how to connect with the back end guys. I think you'll find as things move on and you get a chance to spend time with Jeff, he's really bright. Guys connect with him really good, but he's really knowledgeable, understands how everything fits in the back end, and so I think he's a special coach. When you talk about Al, the energy Al brings, not only on the field but in recruiting, is off the charts. When you go through all the state of Ohio into Atlanta and areas that he's recruited, coaches just rave about him. So I thought that he was an excellent addition to our staff. Anything Al decides he's going to put his mind to, he's going to do. I mean, he coached the running backs for us at Boston College, never touching a football in his whole career, and he coached the Doak Walker Award winner in 1 year. So I believe in Al, and I know he's going to be great. Greg, national championships at Florida, working for the Baltimore Ravens and Ray Lewis as a coordinator for many, many years. His experience speaks for itself. He's been successful everywhere he's gone. And then Matt Barnes, really stepped in a tough spot this year. And I thought when we played against them, although it was a shootout, at that point in the year, that was hard. He was in a tough spot there. But he was working. He was doing special teams and he was doing the defense. I've never heard of that before for somebody at his age. And I think he's really knowledgeable, really good young coach. And so I think he's going to bring a lot of value to us.
Two quickies. How critical is it that you get favorable news on Justin Fields being eligible? Because obviously, your quarterback situation is 3 deep if he's eligible. I mean, just how critical is that for this team moving forward?
Well, I mean, obviously, if that comes through, favorable for us, it provides the depth that we need, and so, Tate leaves, he comes in, and then we're kind of, where we started. That's not the way we, designed it, but that's where we're at right now. You'd like to have 4. In today's day and age, it's not easy. When you look around the country, not too many teams have 4 quality quarterbacks on their roster. Just not work. We talked about what it means to be a quarterback in college football today. So we'll be anxiously awaiting, and then once we get the decision, we'll go from there.
Was Tate leaving a big disappointment? How would you describe? Did it shock you, surprise you? What can you tell us about that from an inside situation?
Yeah, without getting too much into it. Obviously, we wish him nothing but the best. Disappointed to see him leave, but he'll have a good career.
One last thing, Yurcich, what do you expect him to bring to pollinate, I guess, more of this offense? What is it that just stands out that you want from him?
Yeah, they do a good job in tempo. They do a good job with RPOs. I thought they did a great job with RPOs. And then they in the run game, they've done a lot of insert things where they take a tight end fullback and they insert him in the run game, which is kind of a pro style way to attack in 11 personnel without getting too into X's and O's. But I thought they did a really good job of that. And they know how to score points. Being in that Big 12, those guys score a ton of points, and they're aggressive. He does a good job coaching quarterbacks, obviously with Mason Rudolph and what he did with him. So excited about all those things.
Folks, I got a lot of people that still want to ask questions. We're going to have to try to just do one and done if we can. Front row left, Steven.
Both Mike, yours,
If you can. Try.
both yours and Justin Fields talked about how they were both still learning the offense as new guys here. What's been Corey Dennis's role in helping those two guys, quickly, develop a relationship, I guess?
Yeah, sure. He's a bright young coach in this profession. He's in a quality control position, so he really can do very little in terms of coaching. But his expertise at the quarterback level is increasing every year. I think where he's come in a year has been pretty remarkable. And I think he made his impact on Dwayne, and I think he's going to make his impact on these guys as well.
the focus since December has been offensive line and going out and finding a couple other guys to add to that class. But even back in December, we didn't really get a chance to talk to you about your assessment overall of this recruiting class. And can you maybe just go position by position if you want, and maybe grade it out as far as how you think this turned out?
Yeah, when you look at it, first off, the quality is what I keep going back to. And, I think a couple people asked, how come it's not a bigger class? And I think some people may not understand that you only have 85 scholarships every year, and you can only sign up to 85. And again, going back we don't have a lot of guys leaving the program voluntarily. So, we only had so many spots this year. We only had 2 going into this last signing day. But when you look at what we've done at running back, I think we've improved there. We lost Mike, and we lost Brian. But we get Steele and Marcus. Marcus is already here, doing a good job. Steele is somebody who is very, very talented. Comes from a great family. Marcus, Gatorade Player of the Year. I think that we improved our depth there, and those guys will both compete in the Marcus in the spring, and then Steele in the preseason. When you look at defensive end. That was really well done. Noah Potter's a guy who's already shown that he's going to work really hard. Kind of a guy who we expect to challenge in the spring. Zach Harrison going through the recruiting process. I know there's a lot on his plate. He's come here and blossomed. Had an unbelievable day today. He's been killing in the weight room. So excited about both of those guys. Let's see here at linebacker. You got Cade Stover, Tommy Eichenberg, and Craig Young. Craig, can play a bunch of different positions, but those 3 guys right there, really good athletes. You talk about all of them. Cade Stover, again, Gatorade Player of the Year, excellent athlete, really good basketball player. Tommy comes from a great program. Really happy to get him down the stretch in December. And then Craig Young, an excellent athlete who can do a lot for us. When you look at the offensive line, I think you got Ryan here. You have Harry Miller, who, both of those guys, I think have a chance to, again, make an impact and challenge this preseason. Having Enoch as a way to come in and play for the first year. We'll see how that goes after the first year. And then we're looking to continue to, with that last spot, still target an offensive lineman. What am I missing? In the back end, we got Bryson Shaw and Ronnie Hickman. Ronnie's coming off of that injury, doing a good job in rehab. Bryson will be here in the summer. Great family. Got high hopes for him. Jaden McKenzie, defensive tackle, a guy that Larry went and got down the stretch. Had a great senior year, came on late. We think he's got great upside. And then Cormonte Hamilton, a tight end / off the ball kind of H-back, fullback. Can do a lot of things for us. Can insert, can block at the point of attack, and really athletic catching the ball. So overall, I think am I missing anybody? A wide receiver? Garrett and Jamison, 2 big-time wideouts. Jamison is a legitimate, down the field threat who can go, play with anybody in the country. We think he's going to be a really good player. He's going to take maybe a year to develop, but who knows? He may come in and make an impact right away. And then Garrett, we know. I think that covers everybody, right? Yeah.
Far left, Lori?
Brian, when was the last time you talked to Jim Harbaugh, out of curiosity?
Let's see, probably in December.
I'm just wondering what your relationship with him is like, because, your offense was pretty effective against him. You've just taken 2 of his assistant coaches. I'm sure you guys respect each other, but if I were him, I wouldn't like you very much.
Well, yeah, like anytime, when you're hiring somebody, you want to call their boss and talk to them and obviously get their permission before you address them. And so went ahead, did that, had a conversation, but I didn't really know a coach, up until had that conversation with him.
Front row right, Bill?
Yeah, you've been head coach for a month. What have you learned in that time, especially about things that you couldn't possibly have known until you took over the job?
I think there's a lot of things. I think I said this before, maybe even in the preseason, that when you're walking in these shoes, you notice things you didn't notice before. I think more than when I was an assistant coach, I realized what great kids we have. From all the way across the board, when you're just in offense, you're just working with the quarterbacks, you're kind of in that offensive world, those guys. But when you see the guys on defense, and then you see it from a wider picture, you realize what great kids they are, what a great university this is, the power that Ohio State has all over the country. whether I'm in Hawaii or Seattle, Chicago, New York, Cleveland, it doesn't matter. There's Buckeyes everywhere. And when you walk in and you have that block O on your shirt, people respect you, and the people pull for Ohio State. And that you shouldn't have to compromise when you go to recruit a student athlete here. You should be able to recruit a great player, great families, and a great student. And we've done that here, and we're going to continue to do that.
I can't stress one. In terms of the quarterback process, you probably, as much as you wanted Dwayne to stay, you probably knew that the writing was on the wall. When did it really heat up with Justin? And then how did that work? I mean, Tate at the Rose Bowl Media Day was very firm about, if Dwayne leaves, I'm going to be the starting quarterback. And then boom, a couple weeks later, he's gone or whatever it was. How did that whole process work, the timeline of it?
I can't even really honestly remember exactly what day and how it all worked out. But once Justin went in the portal, then obviously there was communication there. There was interest on his end, interest on our end, and then it kind of went from there. Yeah.
And one thing about Enoch, can you just describe him as a player?
Yeah, Enoch is a very good athlete. He's a guy that we think can put on a lot of weight and get stronger, but he's super athletic. His father is one of his coaches, and he from a young age has trained him to be an offensive lineman, but has done a lot of things with flexibility, with body weight stuff, and so he's very, very athletic, very agile, and with his lower half, we think he's got the ability to put on a lot of weight.
All right, over here, Tony.
Ryan, you said the ideal, what you want is 4 quarterbacks. Are you changing that it's no longer realistic to have 4 quarterbacks nowadays?
I think it's year in and year out. I mean, that's the ideal spot, but you have to adjust with what you have. And I think the dynamics every year, I think when you look at the dynamics of every program, you can kind of look at everybody in America and say, well, that's a different dynamic. Well, that's an interesting situation. And then I got my quarterback for the next 3 years, and then he plays 14 games, ends up third in the Heisman and leaves. And then all of a sudden you're looking around going, what do we got? So you take it year by year, you do the best you can to get it fixed, to put the best product on the field, and you go from there.
And then if you don't know what's going on with Justin this spring, does that change like the percentage of reps that Matthew gets compared to Justin? Or?
That'll be an interesting conversation. Yeah, I think once we get that ruling, then we'll kind of decide from there.
Front row, Angelique.
Ryan, sorry, Angelique Shingales from the Detroit News. I was just wondering, now that you've been going through this process with Justin, I don't know what your opinion of the transfer rule was before that. Has it changed, and what is your opinion of should players get a free pass for one transfer?
Yeah, I think it's a delicate situation. We're kind of going with it as a year in and year out, trying to deal with it and adjust it with it. I think that there are certainly situations where kids should be able to play, and there's certain sports where guys can transfer and play right away. I am in favor of somebody transferring, sitting out, and getting the year back on the back end. I also am in favor of capping the transfers to 2 per institution per year, per calendar year. But willing to listen to other arguments, and as I sit here right now, that's kind of my thought. But I know that there's going to be great discussion this spring moving forward, and looking forward to be a part of those.
Surely you must have had some indication from the NCAA when you're going to hear about Justin's.
Not really. I mean, generally, we're hoping maybe in the next few weeks. But yeah, not really sure right now. So kind of holding our breath.
Everybody can go on vacation. Third row left, Dan.
Ryan, real quick to clarify, that's 2 incoming transfers a year? That's the policy you were just talking about there?
Yeah, that's what I would, as I stand here right now, that's what I would be in favor for if we were voting, yes.
You mentioned sort of intentionally seeking out young guys to add to your coaching staff. Why was that part of your strategy, and where did you kind of come up with the formula that you did?
I think it's good to have balance. I think that when you have that balance of experience and some veteran guys on the staff, and then you balance that off with some younger guys, I think for a lot of reasons it makes sense. And I think that how that works is critical, and how the staff is put together really matters as you move forward. And it's just something you can't just throw in there. Just like anybody who's working in a business or a corporate environment, the people that you work with is really important in building that harmony. And so I think that's a good formula to have, but also the personalities and getting to know these guys was critical.
And last couple, over to the right, Rob.
Curious, off the field, how your life has changed. Fame can be challenging. How are you dealing with it? Have you found that to be either an issue, or how are you walking it out?
It's different. Yeah, it certainly is different, and it's been different for my wife and different for the kids. But again, this is something that I've always worked towards and had the vision that this is the way my life was going to go. So it does take some adjusting, and we talk about it as a family and what that means to our family. We're not changing anything about us. That's not going to happen, and really. Being humble about the fact that this job, when I walked down that hallway and saw the guys, I don't know if you saw the new picture up there, but there's, again, I go through the names of Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel and Earl Bruce and Woody Hayes and Paul Brown, and then you see your picture up there, it takes you to your knees a little bit, but understanding that's my responsibility, and that I want to be up there for the next 10 to 15 years and go win a bunch of championships, and that's not just going to happen, though. And a lot of people that count on you in this state, a lot of people in this country who are Buckeye Nation is counting on us to put out a good product in the field, and I'm working every day to get that right.
You have a lot more dinners interrupted?
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say that I've been on my phone, from when I wake up to when I go to bed at night for the last 2 months. So yeah.
Fourth row left, Colin.
You mentioned a lot about gaining the trust of players or coaches gaining the trust of players and them loving them and performing well back. And I was wondering how important that has been in the development of Zach Harrison, having Larry Johnson, but also Greg Madison and Al Washington, who he got to know through recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, we laugh about it all the time. Zach Harrison right now is walking around with the biggest smile on his face that anybody in the whole campus. And the reason for that was in the recruiting process, he built relationships with Greg Madison and Al Washington. Obviously, built a great relationship with Larry Johnson. These guys are here now, and he gets Larry Johnson, and he's at Ohio State right down the street. So he kind of died and went to heaven, and so he's really happy about that. Yeah.
And final question, back row middle, Steve.
Yeah, Coach. Coach Haffley got up there and he discussed how when you guys were talking about bringing him here, you never once said, I need you to come in here and fix things or fix this or whatever. But when you're talking about what you said about talking with Coach Harbaugh, that may have been back in December, it's obvious that from the time you became the head coach, it seems like a fix or a change or something needed to happen on defense, and that defense this past year kind of got sucked along on a championship team, maybe not the reason for it, but is that the thing that was holding you back or could have held this program back if you didn't make the changes that you made?
I appreciate the question, but that's not really how I looked at it. I looked at it just with, in 2 to 3 to 4 years, that's kind of the picture in your mind on the trajectory and the vision that you're trying to create, and what guys allow you to get to that vision. And that was really what I spent my time on. I spent a lot of time thinking about it. The one good thing about this transition was it allowed me a lot of time to think. Even in the preseason and going through those first 3 games, being in this situation, I kind of felt it for those 2 months. And then going through, bowl practice, when Coach retired and I got named, I had that time to kind of think it through. And like I said, my vision was to have 2 kind of older guys there with some younger guys to complement them. And then I just went about the business of going to hire those guys.
Do you feel the scheme will be better suited to not give up those big hits or just from a 5 mile up in the air standpoint, will these guys put things in place that those plays, while they may occur, aren't going to be as prevalent perhaps as they were this past year?
I think anybody who's putting a defense together would tell you that they don't want to have explosive plays, and that'll be a part of it. But it's really good because there's so many good ideas in that room, and they're actually in there, kind of a laboratory right now, putting that all together. And it was kind of the way that 2 years ago, with Urban, myself, and Kevin Wilson, we were all in a room together, the 3 of us, putting together ideas and how that works. And the give and the take there was really good, and I think it's going to be the same way with those guys this year.
Coach, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one more thing about
Sure.
a guy you might want to talk about? That Larry Johnson is the guy who's still here from the defense. Just how important was that he's still here?
Yeah, very, very important. Larry's been great for me. He was great for me in the summer. He's been great for me the last couple months. He's a guy that everybody respects. I mean, obviously the defensive line is the heart and soul. The offensive and defensive line are the guys that run the team. And anytime you want to be a championship team, if you don't win the line of scrimmage, that's not going to happen. More importantly, they got to win the locker room. And the defensive line is a big part of that, and what he's recruited to that room and how those guys feel about him. But not only that, he's a father figure to everybody on the team. And so that was really, really important, and making him the associate head coach was important to me.
quarterback of the Patriots. Any comment on that?
Yeah, sent him a text and then told him congratulations and he's going to kill it, and I think he will.
I'm just kind of confused. Are you guys going to pursue a grad transfer at quarterback, you think, in the fall or before fall? Do you want a fourth on your, or does it depend on what happens with Justin?
Like I said, we want to be at 4. If we get another offensive line, we'd be at 53. At 85. So that we'd be maxed out there. And so we wouldn't be able to add anybody. And so that would be kind of where we'd go. Yeah.